Welcome everyone to TradeStation and another installment of our Meet the TradeStation Team podcast series. This podcast series is designed to take you inside the heart and soul of TradeStation, to meet the people that are working every day to make your experience with TradeStation the best that it can be.
Welcome everyone to another edition of Meet the TradeStation Team. I'm your host Michael Burke. I'm Vice President of Client Training here at TradeStation, and we're very privileged today to be joined again by James Putra, who is the Director of Innovation and Strategy.
Hey Mike, thanks for having me again. I'm really excited to be back here and talking about some the exciting stuff we're doing.
So James, the reason I brought you back is that there is so much going on in the Bitcoin world today, and you're kind of our resident guru here. So I thought we'd spend a little bit of time together talking about what's going on in Bitcoin, and for a lot of our clients who may not even have any real experience with Bitcoin, what Bitcoin is.
Sure. It's kind of funny, the resident guru, because about a year ago, everybody thought I was absolutely nuts. When we're talking about Bitcoin, it's kind of this interesting new concept. I say new, it started about 2009 after the financial crisis, when a gentleman going by the alias of Satoshi Nakamoto created a constitution or an idea around this way that you could store value and transact value outside of the current financial system that was being able to be done without middlemen. So you could do it outside of the banks. It would have less or maybe no ability to be controlled by the governments, but really kind of handing back the power to the people. So there's a lot of really kind of spirited thoughts in there around how to use Bitcoin, what it is, what the purpose is. But it's really this concept that sort of evolved and spread beyond Bitcoin into many of these other alt currencies and ways that you can transact business on the internet, ways that you can raise capital in some instances, and ways that you can actually store your value. So there's a lot of different ways that this can be done and things you can do with this technology. And I think that a lot of the stuff we're really just scratching the surface on, and we're trying to plug this into a lot of different avenues. Some of them really work, some of them don't. But if you kind of take a step back to the original question of Bitcoin, Bitcoin is this single concept around storing value and transacting value outside of the current financial system.
So one of the things that I think everyone who's listening to this is thinking is that what is the right way to approach Bitcoin? How do I avoid any landmines, that kind of thing? So what are some of the challenges of getting involved in Bitcoin?
It's a really interesting question. I think a lot of this has to do with the market still being pretty immature and when it's starting to mature at a faster and faster pace. But the things that are sort of unique risks that we face if you want to hold the underlying crypto tokens is security is a big one. If I buy a stock today, I can trust that TradeStation is custodying that stock or custodying my funds, and I don't have to worry about the firm disappearing because I have protections. Now, if I buy a Bitcoin or an Ethereum or a Litecoin, it's possible that those just disappear on me. The actual exchange that's transacting those may go belly up. I don't have the same protections that I do from a brokerage account. So I also don't really own the tokens. When the exchange custodies my tokens, I do not own my private keys. So I end up having to take on the custody myself through some type of cold storage or other type of wallet. And this security relies 100% on me. So I am the weak point in the security, and I have to make sure I've done all the protection to prevent anybody from getting access to my tokens. And then the other part is the access to information. The people in the space are so new to us, right? We don't have those long established players like a Warren Buffett providing information for us. So to me, everybody is fairly new, and you may have 5-6 years of experience in this space, but they all sound very similar to me. So trying to figure out what is the right information is interesting. And without having those investor protections, it's hard to know what is true, what is not true. So you're constantly digging through to figure out the most useful and valuable information.
This market has a lot of volatility. What's driving that?
So I think there's different factors. Now, if you look at something like Bitcoin, there's a lot of debate in the community over what the actual purpose is. However, when you see what's going on with Bitcoin, there's a lot of interest in this, not only from the people like myself that are playing in the market, but also a lot of capital that's on the sidelines and people that are hearing about this. They're seeing it go from 700 to 8,000. I think today we're at 8,200. Then it ripsaws down to 5. From a trader perspective, I love it. I've been dying for volatility, and now I've finally found a place where I can act on the volatility. But what's really, really interesting for me is that the more that we break down the barriers for people to access this, the more capital is going to continue to inflow into this. There's a gentleman called Mike Novogratz, who's a former Wall Streeter, a big hedge fund guy, and he's got a lot of information or discussion around this concept, the herd is coming. And it's a very interesting concept where his point is that a lot of the institutions and fund managers and money managers and also the mom and pops have not been able to access this asset class and participate in this rise. And they're looking for ways in. So when you start looking at things like the CME and the CBOE futures contracts, that's going to give us an avenue to push more capital into this space, using some of the traditional financial institutions that we're used to. I mean, if you think about a pension fund or hedge fund, they're not used to putting $1 billion into a market that they can't liquidate very easily, or that they have to worry that those crypto tokens might just disappear on them. So using something like the futures or eventually the other exchange products that might come off of this, like ETFs or options, they're going to have a lot more of those protections and comforts that they're used to. And so this is going to help drive much more capital into the market and much more awareness around this. And it's what Mike Novogratz is talking about, where the Bitcoin should continue to keep rising just by the new capital that's joining the marketplace.
So is TradeStation going to be ready to trade these new instruments?
So we're pretty excited about this. We've been very active in working with the exchanges to become a day one provider. There's a lot of activity here around making sure that we're prepared to handle this, that we're preparing our customers to handle this, and we've got a lot of demand already to access some of these products. And so we're really looking forward to seeing how this influences the overall market and how we can bring this to our customers.
That's excellent. So James, when I talk to clients about Bitcoin, some of them know absolutely zero about Bitcoin, and some of them, have a really good knowledge of it. And for example, you are one of those guys that, has a great deal of knowledge in this. How did this spark your interest?
Kind of a cool question. I think that when you talk to anybody that's really gotten passionate about this topic or this industry, they're going to be able to tell you their aha moment, which for me, I spent about a year listening to a dear friend of mine telling me all about blockchain and why it's going to change the world. And I just kept telling him, get away from me. I've got too much stuff going in my mind. I'm dealing with all this interesting stuff with AI, chatbots, and just very exciting tech. I don't have any space. And then little by little, he wore me down and I started to do a little bit of research, and then it clicked. And I just had this aha moment, I'm going to say sometime middle of last year. And really, that's when I did a deep dive. You just do a deep dive. You start learning about the potentials, the possibility, how this might change. It has the potential to change the way that we interact with each other and do business like the internet did. And you're going to find a lot of very passionate opinions about that. But it really gets exciting. And the deeper you go, the more you realize the less you know. And for me, as a knowledge junkie and someone who loves to learn, this is just a new playing field of new information. And I love investing. I love trading. It's a great avenue for me to flex those muscles. But it's just a really exciting concept that has a lot of potential uses beyond just trading, beyond just investing, beyond store of value. A lot of really cool stuff that we can do with Internet of Things and traceability. And those are whole nother topics where we can do really nerdy deep dives if you want.
That's really great, James. I really appreciate you spending the time with us today. I'm sure we're just starting to scratch the surface here of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure we'll do more of these sessions. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks again for having me. I really appreciate the time to talk about this.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Be sure to tune in for more of our Trader and Meet the Team podcasts. You can learn more about TradeStation by visiting our website at www.tradestation.com. And definitely tap into more of our educational resources and great online brokerage services. Thanks, everybody. The preceding podcast was for educational purposes only. All of the symbols and trading ideas discussed by the instructors and guests were for educational purposes and not recommendations. Active trading is not suitable for everyone. Options trading carries a high degree of risk. You can find the characteristic and risks of standardized options disclosure and additional disclosures on the TradeStation website.
TradeStation is an award-winning broker offering trading in stocks, stock options, and futures, all within one trading platform with low commissions. But you also get the outstanding TradeStation analysis platform with advanced charting, real-time scanning, and powerful option analytics. Our mobile app lets you take your trading on the road. To learn more, I invite you to visit our website at tradestation.com.